Okay. I wanted to get your response to something that Gene Deal did say, and that was that Miami didn't do anything, Los Angeles didn't do anything. It was the Southern District of New York that did the raids and brought up the charges against Diddy. I just wanted to get your reaction to that statement.
Yeah. Well, that goes the part where Gene, I always tell Gene to stick to being a parole officer, a probation officer, because he doesn't understand how the law enforcement. So you got correctionals officers and options of law enforcement. You got law enforcement, meaning cops and people like that, and then you have the probation side of law of of criminal justice. And so he knows the part about parole and probation and stuff like that. He don't know shit about the law enforcement part by a lot of statements that he makes, if y'all really listen to him. New York was always spearheading that. All LA and Miami did is that was the jurisdiction where the houses were that they wanted to raid. So that's all they did, or went out there and made the raids for that New York office. They are the ones that picked it up, mainly because that's where Puffy lived. Mainly that's where most of the victims lived and where they filed the lawsuit at. And where Cassie filed the lawsuit at, it was in New York. And so that's why they picked it up. It wasn't that New York, and that's that New York. Y'all, people in New York, y'all love New York, boy. I swear, y'all some motherfuckers. It wasn't that New York was just because they got the best law enforcement system and this and this and that. It was just because they were the ones spearheading it. But they had their partners in crime, their agents that worked in California. But trust me, one of those 6 ladies that was sitting up there at that press conference, she was out there in LA when they went and raided that house. And some FBI agents from New York. One of those females was in Miami with those, and one of those agents that worked for her in Miami. So when y'all hear stuff like that from Gene, y'all just got to understand what he's saying, that he don't really know. No disrespect to him, because he's been right on. He's been right on telling us about Puffy. I'll be the first to say that. He's been giving us the head about Puffy. Not about the rest. Not about when it's going to. He bit that from Reggie Wright, and y'all know that. But he has been right on about Puffy's been a weirdo and a Puffy. Y'all got to also say, Suge Knight and Tupac been telling y'all since 95 and 96 what Puffy was doing. And so this is not something new. You know, the word freak off parties and all of that, I'll be honest. Death Row done did shit like that too. We done had parties where we done flew chicks in from other states and all that. And they, you know, party with dudes and stuff like that. I done told y'all about chicks from Magic City and from Houston that came, that my boy, rest in peace, L.A. Dre that did it. So, but one thing I can honestly say Sugar he never did, I know this, he ain't did no homosexual shit. He was stingy with the girls, so he ain't letting one of the homies and stuff and sitting in the corner jacking all while one of the homies fucking on the chick. He ain't did no shit like that, and he definitely ain't gave no people no drugs or like that. They might have had drugs there and got drugs, you know, on their own, but Suge Knight sure wasn't supplying it for nobody. Because number one, the nigga's too cheap, you know, when it comes to stuff like that. Or selfish. He's not cheap. She's not cheap at all. But selfish. And number two, he just wasn't into doing stuff like that publicly. And so that would be my comparisons between Bad Boys and Death Row and what they were doing. I honestly just think Puffy got carried away with the shit. Can't say he just started something new, because we done heard of the rumors between Justin Bieber. Y'all see that video online? Y'all can tell Justin Bieber is shook of Diddy. That's surfacing up. Puffy, Usher, he pretty much talked about it, you know. And so we know Usher and his mama was definitely scared of Diddy and all of that. And so Diddy has been doing stuff for a while. It's just that I think he thought it was okay because he was paying people to do it. and not understanding the crossing state line stuff. That's going to get him. And then the drugging part. The drugging part is of the drinks. Then that's what's going to get him, y'all. That's where he fucked up at, y'all.
Speaking of the freak offs, it was reported that not only the victims but Diddy himself would typically receive IV fluids the next day to recover from like the physical exertion and the drug use that they did. What are your thoughts on that? The fact that they were, getting IV fluids refreshed in them because these freak offs were so intense.
I never partied like that before. I never been at a party or seen anything like that, or even I heard of people that's been on, drinking and overdoing it at parties and stuff like that, getting IV, and when you get drunk or too much, that's the first thing they do if you go to an ER and stuff like that is give you an IV. I have heard of that. I've never been around that. Suge didn't spend money like that when I was around him on stuff like that, partying like that. I told y'all of a situation before where a young lady was in there with Pac and Suge, and and then one of the young ladies got too drunk where we had to get her out of there, but we just got rid of her. We didn't, we didn't give her no IV. We weren't trying to keep them. I mean, I wouldn't want a bitch around me after a day, especially if she ain't going in there showering and taking baths and getting fresh again. I like to smell that scent of Victoria's Secret and all of that. So go home, bitch, go get yourself right and come back tomorrow. But the way they were obviously doing it was like 3 or 4 days of laying around. And that's the type of people that look like fiends to me. When you start laying around for 2 or 3 days, and I don't even want to take baths and showers behind motherfuckers. So he said, well, they were there taking showers. Well, shit, man, 1 or 2 people take a shower at a spot. I don't even want to take a shower, without the maid or somebody coming to cleaning that house up. So they were wilding out. They were partying and doing stuff, and the IVs is just a recovery. If any of y'all ever go to the ER for drinking or something too much, trust me, that's the first thing they're gonna do. Just put you on an IV, and you'll be feeling like new within a few hours. I remember, I did an interview with John. It was my son's birthday party about 3 years ago. I think when we first did it. And we was rushing to go to my son's birthday party. And I was just like dehydrated. And that's when I was losing all that weight and all of that stuff. And I was like fucked up. My wife went online and ordered me one of those IVs. Then we paid like $500 for it. The next day I was like, I'm back. And so, to be honest, they do work. They do work, but that's all I took from that. The only part about it is after 2 or 3 days, man, that's some nasty shit in my opinion, where you laying around that much, being around the house. You had no more than 4 or 5 restrooms in the house with that many people. That's some nasty shit, y'all.